Have any records at all of your consultations with the Department of Education?
Yes, we will have.
We have regular meetings, IDC processes, etc.
Is it possible to get access to the minutes of those meetings?
We'll take that on notice.
Thank you. I'd seek copies of the minutes of those meetings with the Education Department and with the Department of Industry, particularly around this issue of consultation with industry groups, whether it be the universities, whether it be the science agencies, whether it be companies that employ scientists.
The list is every 6 months, isn't it? Senator, you can be assured that with the reset of the list every 6 months, if material issues arise that are either unintended consequences or arise in future because new data becomes available, the list is revised every 6 months.
Yes. I'm just surprised, Mr Pezzullo, that you couldn't foresee these difficulties.
Well, I'm not suggesting. I don't think that's the evidence I've heard from Ms Noble at all. I mean, you can consult to the nth degree, and people are always going to have.
But you haven't consulted. That's the point.
You can consult to any degree, Senator. I was saying.
No degree here, none whatsoever.
That's just not the burden of the evidence that you've heard. The minister's got a statutorily formed advisory council on skills. You assume that they're across their brief. We're going to get you the composition of that group, which is chaired by Mr Willicks. They are eminent Australians and eminent in their field. We engage with the Department of Employment, which looks at employment issues for a living. The last time I checked, and perhaps the Minister may wish to comment because it's in her portfolio, Minister. I wouldn't want to take liberties with commenting on your portfolio. And then we engage with the Department of Education and Training, who again, for a living, look at Australia's future education, science, training and research requirements. And every 6 months the list will be revised, and if matters arise that need to be attended to, they can be. And then in the end there's a safety net known as the labour agreement process, which will always be available as a safety net.
I see. So is there, have there been many items of correspondence to the Department of Immigration in regard to these matters?
I wouldn't say many. There's certainly been public commentary, which obviously comes into the department. I'll have to take on notice how many discrete pieces of correspondence have come to either myself, the Minister, or officers of my department. I wouldn't say we've been sort of overwhelmed, but we have noticed the level of noise and the level of concern in some sectors, and it can all be addressed.
How many Vice-Chancellors are on 457 visas?
I personally don't know. Mr Wilden might.
I would have to take that on notice.
Yes. And have you had any representation about the number of Vice-Chancellors that are excluded from this list as a result of your changes?
As part of the discussions we've had with the G8 and Universities Australia, they've raised the issues of Vice-Chancellors, and we've taken that into consideration along with the other feedback we've had.
Tell me this, how did you decide about going about deciding that a university lecturer was to be placed on the short-term skills occupation list?
Well, as I put into evidence before, that work is largely undertaken by the Department of Employment, and I read out the range of data that they use to come to that conclusion. And then, as I said before, that's then combined with information that the Department of Immigration has, largely around the number of visas that may have been issued to people in those occupations over the last few years. So that's how.
So how many university lecturers are on the
This might have to be your last for the time being, Senator Coe.
How many university lecturers are on the 457 list?
We have to take
We'll take that on notice.
Okay, thanks, Senator.